Hi everyone, jumping on to just share some of the things that have been dropping in for me over the last week in particular, but really I'm starting to realize that pieces that have been dropping in over the last few months are like pieces of this puzzle that I'm still trying to weave together. So I'm jumping on to share some of those pieces of the puzzle, what I've been able to piece together from that. We'll pull some cards and see what other energy wants to come through. I've been speaking, as have many other people, about 2025 being a year that's full of events that will serve as catalysts to awaken those that are not already awakened and to push us onto this timeline of ascension, to push this onto this timeline of moving away from the traps that we've lived in for so long, no longer tolerating that and stepping fully into our power and our sovereignty. And safe to say, we're 10 days in Australia into this year already, and so much has taken place. What's been interesting to me is that I'm having conversations with people that aren't in this world yet, and I'm realizing how different our experience of the world right now is, how different our exposure in our algorithms is to what's happening around the world, and how different our focus is. But there's certainly still some big events taking place, including the fires in LA right now, that are all within our conscious awareness, are all within our realities, and are all within our hearts. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge, before I dive into that being kind of the piece that seems to have pulled in a bunch of downloads for me, that this event that's taking place right now is devastating. It is devastating the lives of that community and their homes and their livelihoods, and in some cases their lives, the lives of animals, and the nature of that area itself. And that needs to be faced with the weight and the heavy heart that we are all feeling around that. I also want to acknowledge that there are equally heartbreaking events, and in my opinion, more heartbreaking events that have been happening across our globe without this level of media attention for some time now, including one that's been going on for a very long time. And I've mentioned on my podcast and in other videos before how much I grapple with these moments of these things that would previously push me firmly into despair and heartache and anger and fear, if I'm to be honest, and trying to now walk the path of feeling the feelings, recognizing and empathizing with those people that are suffering, recognizing how that is mirrored within me with the as within, so without principle, whilst also knowing and holding on to the knowing that everything that is happening isn't by accident. And so as we move through 2025 and all that is to come this year, that's what I will be holding on to, the knowing that everything is serving a purpose, whether they are naturally occurring events or not, and maybe a bit more on that shortly. It all serves a purpose, and I'm holding on to the hope, the faith, the knowing that these events are devastating, and I wish no one was having to go through them, but they are acting as catalysts to refocus us, to refocus that community, to refocus us all as a collective on what we've been tolerating, again, standing in our power and our sovereignty, no longer tolerating the systems and structures that allow, and in some cases perpetuate, these events from occurring, and coming together, recognizing the humanity and the divinity in all of us, and coming together and moving on this beautiful pathway that we are destined for. So what has initiated this video isn't just the events that are taking place. There's been a bunch of things coming in for me for a while, and I haven't known what to share, how to share, if I should share, because the last thing I want to do with any of my videos online is to elicit any fear. in anyone. I want these videos to be empowering, to acknowledge the challenge that we are all facing right now in how we respond rather than react to these events, and trying to encourage us to hold on to that hope and faith and love for each other. And some of the downloads that I've been receiving about events they're big. And as someone that previously was very easily pushed into the fear timeline, it's been a lesson in itself for me to go, how can I still go about my life knowing all of these things that may take place this year, not necessarily knowing the details of the whens and the wheres and even the whys sometimes, but not holding back from going out and living life and getting out there and getting close to the places where these events might take place. And again, I don't have those details. I'm still trying to piece some pieces together. And so then for me to be working through that myself and trying to work out, is this helpful information to share? Is it helpful for people to know details of what kind of events that we might be expecting? Or is it just helpful for people to be expecting that this year is going to be full of events that will challenge us in every way? And to just keep reminding people that we have a job to do. We need to shine our light and support those that are going to struggle with this, but not to do so in a way that pulls us down into that struggle ourselves, because we are the lighthouses through all that is taking place and all that will take place. So not last night, but the night before, I woke up at midnight, which on my phone was 0000. And immediately the REM song chorus came into my head. It's the end of the world as we know it. And it's been playing in my head ever since. And that felt like a powerful message. And what I didn't realize until I had the chance last night to sit down and look at the lyrics of that song is I hadn't looked at the lyrics before. And I'd encourage you to go have a look at the lyrics of that song. Certainly some of them reinforce the downloads and visions that I've been receiving about some of these events, about how the world is changing. And as I was looking for a post to share, to just share that bit of information with everyone on my social medias last night, I came across a meme that was, it's not the end of the world, it is the end of the illusion. And it had an image of Wizard of Oz and then peeling back the curtains on the wizard, which, as someone that watched Wicked last week, I can definitely see the truth that is hidden or not hidden within that movie. So I've sat with that message of it's the end of the world as we know it, and that idea of the time being 000. And I got the message reset, as in this is our great reset right now. We've entered this period. And interestingly, I'm reading a book right now called The Yuga Shift, which is all about these great reset periods throughout humanity's existence over a long, long time, and how we reach this point where a reset is necessary to wake us up, to reset us, to allow us to refocus on the important things and move away from the greed and the corruption and the power of one over the power of many ways that we're going about life right now. So I've been pulling some cards already. I keep getting the Tower card, I keep getting the Fool card, and a bunch of other oracle cards. I'm just going to reset that. Like, we're going to pull some fresh cards in this video today. But I did meditate on this energy this morning to see what came through, and again went out for a walk and received some messages there. So I want to spend a bit of time sharing that. And again, as I move through this, I just want us to focus on the importance here of how are we going to choose to respond to what is taking place, what will take place. And really, for me, it is that piece of asking the questions, leaning into love, leaning into the lessons that each of these events hold for all of us in our own way, including that need to look within and see how is that thing that is playing out in the world reflected within me, because in a way it's that energy that's perpetuating these events externally to us. And to what I think is going to be a big theme of 2025, which is community. So how can our response to these events call us together, call us to come together in community, in a way that supports each other, in a way that we can lean on each other, and maybe in ways that we in our lifetimes haven't witnessed before? How can we open our arms and our doors and our pantries and our wallets, whatever we need to support each other through this period, and to let go of this idea of this is mine and that is yours, and if you come in here and I offer you any of this which is mine, then I'm losing out in some way. We're all in this together, and it is reciprocal. What you give is what you receive. It's that balance that we're needing to come into right now, the balance with nature, the balance with each other, the balance with our animals, the balance in our spirituality and in our lives. That is the path that we're on. That's what we're being asked to wake up to through these events. And that is what I want you to focus on as I share some of the things that are coming through for me. The first thing I saw in my meditation this morning was a tower. And it didn't look like a tower that I am aware of. It may be one somewhere in the world, but it wasn't one that I went, oh, that's that tower. But immediately I got the words Trump Tower. And I believe that's where there was the vehicle explosion last week, maybe, the Tesla vehicle explosion. And I got a fair bit of Trump imagery throughout my meditation. And I'm not putting any labels or messages on that, but I feel like that is part of this timeline. Obviously, we're 10 days out from him stepping into the presidency within America, and there may be events that relate to that. I didn't actually, so then I did some research once I got home from my walk around towers falling, and because I was thinking there is a story or a nursery rhyme that relates to that, and there is a biblical tale relating to the Tower of Babel. I might be saying that wrong. Where the story basically is that the people at that time, and this was after the Great Flood, the people at that time, many, many years after the Great Flood is my understanding, were building a tower to try and reach up towards God. And as I understand it, God perceived that as an act of arrogance and rebellion, and he made everyone immediately speak different languages, which caused obviously separation and confusion and division. And I can feel that energy in where we're at right now. Not only are we the most divided that we've ever been, and that's what is being asked of us to turn around, but there is that pride and arrogance and selfishness piece that is playing out across our society right now, that is making us look out for ourselves and ourselves only, and maybe even being selective in our empathy. How does our empathy towards others come about in selective ways? And others might not just be other races, other countries, other people within our communities, within our world, but also the animals of the world, the life across this globe. The other thing that didn't come to mind when I got this tower image originally, and then dropped in when I was pulling out the tarot cards, is, of course, the tower card, which has been coming out for me since getting that message the other night. And then the fact that I was sitting down and thinking about all of this, and I had my daughter's game of Jenga in front of me, and it was like in Jenga, or you pull out a piece at a time until the tower crumbles. And it's like that's what we're doing currently. We are systematically dismantling the tower of corruption and power and greed, and the foundations on which a handful of people a handful of the elites have influenced our whole lives across the whole globe. And that is crumbling down now. I'm going to pull some cards around that tower energy as well. I posted on my Instagram 2 nights ago, I think, and it was in response to these fires taking place in LA that, the idea of this tower, these are tower moments. What's going to happen in 2025 are tower moments for us all, collectively, individually. None of us, I truly believe that none of us are getting through this year without change happening in our lives, and without tower moments that will bring about that change. And we'll all be affected by each of these events in our own way, in our own whatever needs to happen for, it's 111 at the moment, whatever needs to happen within our lives to catalyze this change, to catalyze an awakening, possibly to catalyze us onto our path, to catalyze us into soul connections. All of it is divinely guided, as hard as that can feel to believe and lean into right now in these kind of energies. So I just want to pull some cards on this idea of a tower falling and see if we can get any more messages around that before I move on to the other messages I've received in my meditation this morning. Thank you, Spirit. Can you please have more information around the tower falling, and what does this mean for us as a collective or as individuals right now? Queen of Cups and Queen of Swords. Feeling, that feminine energy right now, and that balance of being in our hearts whilst also being in our truths and standing in our power. And I'll show you and strength coming out as well, which is another beautiful balance card there. On the Queen of Swords here, you can see that she's got the cup with her. She's got her cup with her, but it's to me, I don't take that as it's locked away. I take it as it's safe and it's protected, but she's standing in her power. And we've got the Queen of Cups who's surrendering to that love, to something greater than herself. And the Strength card, which we've got the Lamb and the Lion. That balance of the soft and the strong, the love and the power. And just with that infinity symbol on her arm, it is that constant flow of those energies within ourselves that we're being asked to lean into right now, to do our healing as things crumble around us, as maybe our lives crumble around us, or at least the things that we believed in or felt we needed, our ideas, our strongly held convictions, to take that time to lean into that love and compassion for yourself and believe in your strength and power to make it through whatever is coming your way this year, whatever needs to come your way this year. King of Swords as well. Page of Pentacles. 9 of Cups on the bottom of the deck. Anything else about this falling tower, Spirit? 10 of Pentacles. 9 of Cups. So we've got some beautiful energy here, and to me it's just that reminder that we have the choice around how we respond to these events. We can look at them as loss, as struggle, as lack. We can react to them from that place of utter despair, or we can recognize that these are keys for us to unlock a new path, to unlock a new reality, not just for us individually, but for us collectively. That really is all we could ever dream of. Community, family, love, abundance in all senses, but in a way that isn't at the expense of others, in a way that allows us to live in balance with nature and her resources. and lean into that way of living. And I shared previously that I had really got revolution energy for this year, and I know I'm not alone in that. I've had that come through in a couple of meditations. I've seen other people share that as well. And with the King and Queen of Swords here, yes, this could mean navigating this in partnership. I do feel there is a message here around balance of our masculine and feminine energies within and possibly without, and that union being a key piece of how we navigate this. And actually, as I just think about that positioning, I have the King of Swords under the Queen of Swords. I think there's this, because I had the Queen of Cups and Queen of Swords here, I've got the Empress, a few cards under the bottom of the deck. I think there's this message right now about us realizing that how society's been set up from a patriarchal point of view hasn't served anyone, hasn't served the earth, hasn't served us, maybe I shouldn't say hasn't served anyone, has served a select handful of people across the globe that have been able to use that system to capitalize power and resources. But that's not the path we're on moving forward. And we're rewriting this path. And part of that is a recognition of this imbalance by the masculine energies and a need for our masculine energies and the masculine energies outside of ourselves to stand in their power in a way that is supportive of the feminine. That is like a true divine masculine energy of structure and support around this feminine energy rising, and this balance of that will allow us to step into this new timeline. Eight of Wands is incoming messages, but also kind of quick energy. So it might actually be that these are all, they're making me think of matches right now, like sparks of events that happen in quick succession to light this path. Probably more about that. Yeah, I think they've even got like the fire on the end. I'm going to leave the fire reference for now, but I think that probably goes with the Seven of Cups. Us just not knowing right now what's good, what's bad, what's truth, what's not truth. And it's a really confusing time. Like, we're in that confusion right now. That Tower of Babel confusion of why is the world suddenly changing around us? Why is this all falling around us? What are we meant to do now? And the lesson is not to go our separate ways in response to this. The lesson is for us to come together in community, in alignment with the path that we're meant to be on, in alignment with the earth herself as she navigates this time period, and to see things from a way we haven't seen them before. This year will turn our lives upside down, inside out, and that's not meant to be to make us suffer. It's meant to be to wake us up, to help us see things from a new perspective. And we have the choice of how we respond to that. We can feel that despair. We can feel that wanting to hold on to the past, of wanting to right ourselves and right everything around us and go back to the way things used to be. Or we can lean in and soak in the different perspective and use it to enable us to find that path forward together and do our healing that we need to do. The next image that I got was of Poseidon, which is not not something that's come through for me before in a meditation. I do sometimes see different gods and goddesses as images and get messages from them, and I haven't seen Poseidon before, and I actually didn't know what that meant at that point in time. But when I looked up what he represented, I knew he was associated with the sea, but I got Greek god of the sea, storms, earthquakes, and more. For me, the Poseidon piece right now is much more around that idea of storms and earthquakes, because a lot of the visuals of events that I've been getting have been regarding earthquake and water events. And I feel there will be an event that is a combination of both that will trigger a tsunami. I don't know where that's going to affect. I know other people are predicting where that will affect. But the other thing that I have been getting around that, and maybe there will be multiple of these events, but a few months ago I posted a message that I received while sat on a walk of something cracking open and revealing something that was underneath it. And that keeps coming through around these earthquake, water, tsunami events. I feel like there's going to be a event take place under water, under the ocean, that actually causes Earth, or the Earth that was there was part of that, to rise above the ocean and reveal itself as a body of land that wasn't previously visible to us. Obviously, that kind of event in itself and triggering earthquake, the damage that could do, a tsunami, has the potential to be devastating to the communities, the people that are affected by that. But I also do feel whatever this massive land is has some spiritual significance and may reveal some history that has been hidden from us, and will be all of it will be part of this process of waking us up and starting to make us ask questions of what else haven't we been told, and what else has been hidden from us. So for Poseidon to come through, that was really interesting. I also was getting a visual of a planet with Poseidon. Actually, I might just look that up now to see if there is an association. Okay, interesting. So I looked up planets associated with Poseidon, got Neptune. Neptune was the Roman god of freshwater and saltwater, so basically the similar energy within the Roman mythology. The symbol for the planet Neptune resembles Poseidon's trident. I then went and looked up what aspects Neptune had this year that may be challenging and may be related to water events. And between May and September, Neptune is conjunct Saturn in Aries. I did keep seeing Saturn in the planet, but I knew there was another planet too. So that's interesting that came out as happening this year between May and September. I then asked, could that conjunction be associated with any water events or natural disasters? And the response I got was, astrologically, challenging aspects involving Neptune can symbolically correlate with water-related events or natural disasters like floods, tsunamis, or even underwater seismic activity. Regarding the Neptune conjunct Saturn in Aries, the conjunction blends Neptune's watery, mystical energy with Saturn's grounding and restrictive influence. The shift from Pisces, water energy, to Aries, fire energy in 2025 marks a clash of elemental forces, which could metaphorically or physically manifest as disruptions involving water and the earth. It was also very quick to point out that astrology should not be used to predict natural disasters and that we need to use science for that. I'll leave that there. I'm just going to go grab my water deck because that's probably the cards I need to use for messages around that message. So I'm not sure if this event will take place in 2025 or at some point. I have a feeling it's going to take place. And the energy of 2025 certainly seems to align with these kind of events taking place. I guess, and this is exactly an example of one of those events where I struggle sometimes to really think about just going about my life as normal. These cards are flipped. And not letting that worry me. Like, I love being near the water. I love being in the ocean. And I want to keep doing that. So I guess my advice there in terms of how we respond to predictions like this is we just have to get more and more in tune with our intuition, with listening to when we feel like we shouldn't do something or when we should do something, and not from a place of fear, just from a place of knowing or asking for that guidance. Whilst these events, the fires, the wars, tsunamis, earthquakes, floods, whatever is happening, may happen around the world, may cause loss of lives, will cause loss of lives, not even may, of people, of animals, of other living beings on this planet. It's just coming back to that idea of if we're meant to be here, we'll still be here. You know, that principle of what's meant for us will not pass us by is also true of our soul's path and purpose that we're here to walk. And again, this is a really challenging concept to navigate or to embody when we're thinking about the loss of people we love or the loss of our lives or whatever it might be. But our soul came here with a plan. Our soul knows what we're here to do. And so if we've still got work to do, if we're still meant to be walking some kind of path on this planet through this process, whatever, for whatever purpose, for our own individual soul path, for a greater collective transformation, then we will be kept safe. And I don't want that to come across as ignoring the true pain and challenge of people losing their lives. I have a message around the Poseidon card, please, Spirit. The first card out was don't hold back, so that just was reinforcing that message of don't let these things that are happening hold you back from enjoying your life. You are here to live. You're not here to lock yourself in a home, try and protect yourself from the events that might take place. 3 came out together. I'm not sure if they're all. So then I got Mother of the Salt Waters, Passion, Wild Love, Open Your Heart, Let Love In. Water Codes, Ancient Wisdom, The Intelligence is Within You. The Sirens, Use Your Voice, Expansion and Freedom. Immerse Yourself. And the Pearl, Alchemy, the reward at the end, from grit to grace. I think that so beautifully sums up, probably these 2 cards so beautifully sum up this year. Like, into the unknown. We are stepping into the unknown right now. And it will take courage. It will take facing our fears, going deep. The underworld there, to me, just speaks to what is down there that we don't know about, that we haven't seen before, that might be coming to the surface for us. Learning through experiencing. All of these events are offering us the chance to learn, to free ourselves. And the feminine energy just feels really strong in all the cards we've pulled right now. Like, the first thing I thought of when I saw this card, Mother of the Salt Water, is it's like that counterbalance to that Poseidon energy, to that ragey, fiery Poseidon energy is this Mother of the Salt Water, passion, wild love, open your heart and let love in. And again, that's just what we're being asked to do this year, to step more into that open heart approach to life, approach to how we respond to these events. I'm loving that the messages that are coming through with the cards are much more around the energy that we need to be embodying than details of the events themselves. Because what I have really been struggling with in receiving these downloads, visions, whatever you want to call them, is they've been really big, heavy things, which is why I've struggled to share. And I haven't wanted to just come on here and share this might happen and this might happen and this might happen without any of this. Like, how do we respond to this? How do we embody this? But we just let it all unfold. We allow what is and trust. Trust in what is unfolding. Surrender to the process and believe there is a rainbow for us after these storms. I'm really loving that that's the kind of message that are coming through for those. All right, the next few messages all kind of go together. So the next thing I saw was like this big curtain, and actually I hadn't thought about this, but it is a bit like that image of them pulling back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz. It was like I was arriving at an event that was behind a curtain, so I was invited in to see behind the curtain. And as I went in, then there was this room of like screens and then this big screen at the end. And it was that this is what is being veiled and being invited in right now, or this is the opportunity right now for us to see behind the curtains. And the fact that this is all a production aimed to keep us controlled. I then got smoke and mirrors around the fires, but this is probably bigger than that. I think that's the other thing that I didn't say at the start of this video is as I go through all of these things and as we go through everything that's going to happen in our own lives across the world, the good and the bad, and how we're all responding to it, I think another key piece that we need to focus on is that it's all interconnected. We're all interconnected. And so really coming back to those universal principles of as within, so without, as above, so below, like that idea of we are all one. And so our judgment of this situation, our judgment of those people's responses, our judgment of those people is reflected somewhere within us. And so even as I speak about these visions coming through, maybe being related to the fires that are taking place, the idea of unveiling, the idea of distracting us from something through smoke and mirrors isn't just about the fires. And in fact, it's probably not just about these global elites that are in control, which moves me on to the next part. This is reflected within us in some way. What are we keeping veiled? What are we distracting people from seeing by not turning up as our authentic self? And then on my walk this morning, which ironically was to go pick up new foundation from the post office, which I did not put two and two together until I grabbed the parcel. I just kept getting this message of something's being covered up, like it's being covered up. And I just kept going, tell me more, like what do I need to know, what's being covered up? And I am interpreting this again on that global scale, but I can also think of areas in my life where stuff's probably being covered up, and I can think of things I'm covering up. I'll come back to that shortly. That sounded way more juicy than it is. So I was asking for guidance, like, what do you mean it's being covered up? Is the cause of these fires being covered up? Is the intention behind these fires being covered up? Is what they're doing being covered up? Like, what is it? What's being covered up? Are the fires to cover up something, to burn evidence, to remove evidence of what may have been taking place in these areas? If you know, you know. And I got a few bits and pieces, but the most important message there for me was for us to just know, for us to know things are being covered up right now, for us to know we're being invited to look behind the curtains, but we have to step through. We have to be willing to ask the questions and believe there's veils up or smokes and mirrors up to begin with before we can even begin to look into what that might be hiding from us. But also we do need to look at our own lives because, as I said, I picked up my foundation and I was like, oh, this isn't just about a huge global event that's taking place and whether or not that was natural or not natural, or whether it is intended to cover up evidence, or whether it was destined to release bad energy from the area, or possibly a truth. Like, there are multiple truths we can hold. But actually, this is also about me. This is about that conversation I had on the phone yesterday where someone asked, what are you doing tomorrow with your day off work? And I said, oh, I don't know. I might just read a book. I knew full well I was getting on to record this video. I knew full well I was getting on to record a podcast episode. I knew full well I was diving into some learning around a particular topic. I knew full well I was working on my Mind, Body, Soul Awakening course. But the person I was speaking to doesn't know about this aspect of my life. This aspect of my life is behind a veil, despite the fact it's on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else. And I didn't speak my truth. I kept that hidden. Where in our lives are we covering up our truths? And how is that needing to change before we can really expect change outside of ourselves? How can we be stepping more and more into our true, authentic selves, speaking our truth, standing in our power, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to lose everything possibly, to take the veil off, to reveal the truth? Because I think there's a piece here of, until we're willing to do that, we cannot expect that to happen outside of ourselves. As I tune more and more into the fires, I really got this sense of a release of energies from that area. And that's what I was saying before. I think there's probably multiple truths here, but I do think there is some like clearing of energies, possibly spirits, from those lands that's been able to happen because of these fires. And again, I don't say that because I think that the devastation was worth it, but how can we look at two things being true? How can it be devastating that people and animals have lost lives, that the nature in the area has been destroyed, that people have lost their homes, their livelihoods, all of their belongings, and feel true deep sorrow and empathy for that, whilst also holding the possibility that there's a rainbow about this, or there was something purposeful about this, and maybe purposeful beyond being a catalyst for awakening within that population or community within that population. Maybe actually on a spiritual level, was there something that needed to happen? Was there a reason this needed to happen? And I'm still not sure, and I'm seeing a lot on social media about whether this was a natural event or a man-made event, and the stuff around the insurance companies and all of that. And probably in time we'll know, particularly as we connect more with our inner knowing, like what feels true to you. That's where, as we navigate all of these events, that's exactly what I've been saying. We need to come back to our inner knowing, because there's so much out there that we can get caught up in, this confusion, in this separation, in this division. But a few key principles that we can hold on to is more than one thing can be true, which is not what we're used to, living a life based on that principle. And that we're really only going to know the truth by going within. And at the end of the day, does it matter? To me, when I tune into this energy, I feel like there is this there is both sides to this. There is the dark and the light at play here. And maybe there is some degree of a spiritual war taking place around this event. But all I know is how I can choose to respond with my energy. And I can either go into the despair and focus all on the dark energy at play and allow that to push me into rage or fear, anger, despair, like really unempowering, lower vibrational energies. Or I can look at the light side of this and hold on to that hope, hold on to that faith, lean into love, look at the community spirit that's always forms after these events, and pour my energy into that, into supporting that, into supporting the light, into trying to bring rain to LA, into trying to still these winds. Like, we are powerful beyond measure. And my hands are burning as I say this. In my dreams this week, and I've been trying to take notes. I usually don't remember my dreams, so I've got this notebook next to my bed that's been there for months, and I still often wake up and can't remember. But the other night I could remember, so I scribbled down some notes, and I can't read all of them. But the gist of all of the dreams I had that night that I've written notes about, aside from waking, that was the night I woke up at midnight, was around this idea of we can all harness our energy to change our lives, to change the world, to heal, to truly have impacts beyond what we can possibly imagine right now. But we have to remember how, and we have to believe we can. And these events are a beautiful example of that. And Hurricane Milton a few months ago was a beautiful example of that, of how we can channel our energy into these events to take the dark power, to not take the dark power away, to enhance the light, the energy of the light in that area. I then had a bit of stuff come through, mostly images of people, which I'm obviously not going to mention on here, that might relate to some of the energy that needs to clear from this area in particular and the atrocious stuff that has been taking place. The meditation finished with this image of a phoenix, of like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And obviously that relates to this event itself, but also just us. It's a visual representation of our experiences here, that what we go through will feel like the burning down of the life that we were living. But we all will rise from the ashes if we choose to. So let's choose to. Let's believe in that hope and that faith and see what comes about, and come together in community to support each other. The other thing that I just had taken a note down here to share, and then I might just pull some cards for some final messages, is a couple of months ago I got a message around Monopoly. I can't, as I say that, I look up and I can see Monopoly in front of me. I suspect one of the events that we face this year will have to do with the banking system. I don't know when or what this is going to look like for us. But when I first tuned into that energy, it wasn't just this crash of a banking system. It was this fall of the idea of a monopoly, of a small handful of people holding all of the wealth in the world, and the idea of a redistribution of wealth. And right now, I can't even fathom what that looks like, how that might play out, but it's a nice prophecy to try and hold on to, should it become true, because what a beautiful world we live in if we all had equal access to resources, and again supported each other in a community sense. Like, we all have so much to offer. This doesn't have to look like us living the lives we currently are doing, where we spend 90% of our lives working just to survive. And I think that is a huge piece of why this change needs to happen right now, and why community is going to be so important in turning that around. All right, let me grab some cards. Messages for us as we prepare for our response to the events of 2025, how we can lean in, what we can expect, what is being asked of us, and how we can step into our highest timeline for the best and highest good of all. Okay, first card out was forge, don't follow. Pave a new path, be a leader, be the leader you wish you had. Just having a look at the visual, the green at the top is really making me think like of Wicked Wizard of Oz vibes. I think there is a message there about how we choose to show up in the world despite what other people think about that. Like, how can we shine our light in a way that is aligned with our truth and not let the judgment, criticism, ridicule, possibly even prosecution by others hold us back or deter us from really walking that path and forging that path to allow others to follow us on this path to this new earth, this new timeline, this higher timeline. Even if the whole world turns against us, it's time to forge our own path, and it's not been done before. So it is going to be forging our own path, karmic relationships, soul growth, conflict. So there might be just some message here around karmic relationships that are no longer serving their purpose, needing for us to look at. What lessons are there in that for us? I got wait, it's not time yet, things are being woven. Things are being woven. To me, this is speaking to, not for us not to be walking our path or doing the things we're being called to do at this time, but to holding that faith. Like, how can we believe in a future that we can't see yet and hold on to that hope, hold on to that trust of the light at the end of the tunnel, that things are being woven and it will come into reality, but we cannot see it yet. So we just have to wait and have faith and forge the path forward. And then we've got cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life, which, of course, like the card of 2025. We will be cracked open. We will hit rock bottom in our own ways, and collectively. This is a 9-year. This is a closing out of a cycle year. This is what it's all about, to allow us to then step into a new beginning. But that never comes easily. And so we have to surrender to the alchemy of life, of creating something beautiful out of something that's really challenging, that does crack us open, that possibly cracks the earth open in some way. Might just get one card from this deck and then we will wrap up. Messages for us to allow us to walk a path of the best and highest good for all. Guidance would you like to provide us at this time, Spirit? Thank you. Really focusing on gratitude. That is going to be so important this year, of grounding yourself in gratitude for Mother Nature herself, for your community, for the people around you, for humanity as a whole, and how we're stepping into our power, and praying for support and guidance through this for yourself and for those around you, and praying for protection. for safety, for awakening. Then we've got the 22 card, which is telepathy, transmission, perception, communication. I've shared on social media recently the podcast called Telepathy Tapes. I would encourage you all to go have a listen. It is incredible. And my understanding, and to some degree my personal experience already, is that this is a gift that will be opening up for many of us in the next few years. And so maybe this is something that's just here to bring that into your conscious awareness so you can start thinking about if that is already showing up for you and how you might be able to tap into that more. And I do feel like this is going to be a key piece in us navigating, tuning into each other in a way that allows us to determine if someone is telling the truth, covering anything up, or being truly authentic. Like, we're going to be much more in tune with each other's energies and emotions. And for some of us, sooner, thoughts or communication between two connected souls. I also have twin flame at the bottom of the deck, so there's probably a connection between these two cards. All right, I'm going to leave that there and get ready to record a podcast episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for this little energy update. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you're receiving anything. I'd love to hear if you'd like to more of these energy updates or sharing of what's coming through for me. Wishing you all a beautiful weekend ahead. And remember to shine your light, choose how to respond, and choose where to focus your energy. You are more powerful than you could ever imagine. Goodbye, everyone.